Hello and welcome to the course DIY Bookkeeping for Beginners. My name is Terry Ramsey and I'm a multiple business owner. I do bookkeeping for some clients. I own Bookkeeping Matchup that helps business owners to get matched with the right bookkeeper for them for absolutely free. I also am the owner of Red Rabbit Ramen in Columbus, Ohio. I am the host of Pay Yourself Summit, and I also do these kind of trainings too, just to help give entrepreneurs some more educational resources to help them out. This course is all about learning the basics of bookkeeping using software, mostly with QuickBooks Online. And it's going to help you to determine and learn what are the basic steps of doing bookkeeping, what does it look like in the software, and determining is this right for me to do and to take on. Some businesses are either just getting started where they feel like they can't afford a bookkeeper yet, or they feel like their business is pretty simple that maybe they can go ahead and do this work on their own. So this is going to give you the know-how of how to handle bookkeeping, what to look out for in QuickBooks Online, and make that best decision for you. Okay, so before we get started with any of the nitty-gritty, if you're sitting there going, what is bookkeeping and do I need this? Let's go ahead and tackle those questions right off the bat. Bookkeeping is the way that you go ahead and do accounting for your business. It is recording every single dollar that comes into your business and every dollar that goes out of your business. And it'll categorize that in certain categories of expenses, like if it was for marketing, if it was for software, if it was cost of goods sold, if it was revenue coming in. That's how you go ahead and do bookkeeping. Do you need to do bookkeeping? Yes. Yes, it is a legal requirement if you have a business to keep a detailed record of all of the transactions that go in and out of your business. You need to have this for taxes. If you were ever to be audited, you need to have a record of that. So, yes, you need to do bookkeeping, whether you're doing it on your own, you hire a bookkeeper, whatever it is, you have to do bookkeeping. Okay, so what do you even need in order to do bookkeeping for your business? To get started. This might be a checklist for you if you're an established business to make sure that you have all the pieces that you need, or if you're just getting started, something for you to know before even going into your business of the different things that you need to set up and put in place. The first thing that you need for bookkeeping is your own business bank account. Don't be using anything personal. We're not commingling, we're not mixing business and personal together. So you need to have your own business bank account. Now, my suggestion for business bank account is Relay Bank. It is the GOAT whenever it comes to business banking, and it's also free, 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 free. I also have another course that is for free about Relay Bank if you want to check that out and see if that's a good resource for you. But there's also going to be a link for Relay Bank down below for you to check out and see if that's right for you. The second thing that you're going to need for bookkeeping is going to be an accounting software. So there's a couple different ones that are out there. Some of them are great. Some of them are a little bit more challenging, and some of them are kind of garbage. Stay away from them. The big name out there is QuickBooks Online. If you think about, for taxes or doing yourself a TurboTax is kind of like the big name out there. QuickBooks is also owned by Intuit. It's the big name out there for accounting and bookkeeping as well. So if you're a business, the most common one to use is QuickBooks. Some of the downfalls of QuickBooks is that it does have a little bit more cost to it. So it's around $70 a month. If you have a bookkeeper doing this, they can give you a discount for that. But QuickBooks is a great tool. It's fantastic whenever it comes to everything that you need to do. That's why we're going to be showing it in this training here. Especially as you grow as a business and you start to get accounting or bookkeeping that could become a little bit more difficult, QuickBooks will grow with you. It's really great. It connects to everything. It will integrate with any software or product that you have out there, guaranteed. It is the tool. It doesn't do it for you. So that's why we're learning about what it means to use QuickBooks Online for this training. And also, if you use Relay Bank, it's really great whenever it comes to transfers back and forth, which is another amazing tool for Relay Bank is their auto transfers that budget money for yourself. Another option, if you are just getting started off, if you've got the most basic of a business. I'm talking about like if you're just a single photographer and you pick up side jobs and there's not much more expenses than that. You don't have debt. You don't have a credit card that's really sitting for your account. If you're so basic, there's also Wave accounting, and this is for free. There's no cost for that at all. It could be more tricky to do things like transfers if you have a Relay Bank. I don't suggest it if you have things like debt because the journal entries could be a little bit more clunky in there. It's for really straightforward service-based businesses, and it can do invoicing for you. So if you also are looking for a payment system, um, make sure that you're looking into that as well. But those are really great options. All of the links for everything I just talked about is going to be below. So for the Relay course, for Relay Bank, if you're ready to go ahead and jump in, you know you need a business bank. It's the best one out there. And for QuickBooks are all down below to go ahead and check out. But again, business bank account, you need a business bank account, and then also an accounting software that you can connect that business bank account to. You are off to the races whenever it comes to bookkeeping. Welcome to the platform of QuickBooks Online. So you will see these kind of similar pages after you create a QuickBooks account for yourself. But until you do, maybe you're just kind of browsing at this point to see if QuickBooks is right for you and if bookkeeping yourself is right for you as well. So come along with me with this ride. We're going to look over the really basic steps in QuickBooks of what does it take to do bookkeeping for yourself as a business. The first thing that you want to do is to connect your business bank account. That's going to pull every single transaction from your business bank account into QuickBooks so you can do the work from there. So every dollar that's in your business, every dollar that goes out of your business is going to feed into QuickBooks so you can easily do some categories and have bookkeeping done for you pretty easily. The way that you do that is you're going to go over and you're going to find transactions on the left bar, and you're going to go into bank transactions. That's going to bring you to this screen right here. And honestly, this is where you're going to do the majority of the work that you have to do in QuickBooks for your bookkeeping as a small business owner. To connect your bank account, you just click on link account, and then that's going to have you search for your business bank account and log into it. So if you have Relay Bank, then you're going to go ahead and search for Relay Bank. You're going to click on Relay Bank, log in with your normal bank logins, and then you're going to select the accounts that you want to connect to QuickBooks. That's simple. If you have Chase Bank or whatever else, it's all going to be searchable. You're going to be able to log in and have those transactions feed in seamlessly. The other thing to get set up is to go ahead if you have a team or anything else and you want to add maybe your virtual assistant, or you do have a bookkeeper that you want to add, or somebody else helping you out, maybe you want to share with your accountant. That's going to be found up in the gear icon. Now, I am an accountant on here, so you're not going to see the same buttons, but you're going to click on the gear icon, and down in settings, you're going to see a button that says manage users. Once you see manage users, you can go ahead and find out how to add a user and invite them into the platform to help you out. And you can give various amount of access to what they can do inside of QuickBooks as well. Fantastic. Moving on. So we have now opened up your QuickBooks account. You have connected your bank account and added any users that you also need to have into your books. So now it's time to set up your chart of accounts. What the heck is a chart of accounts? A chart of accounts is just the accounts that you are creating for each of the different categories of expenses or revenue or anything else that you have coming into your business. So that's where I give the example at the beginning of if you have marketing expenses, you would have an account for marketing. If you had apps and software that you use, you would have an account for apps and software. If you bought supplies, like office supplies for your business, you'd have a supplies and materials account. All of those accounts are what you're going to match these different transactions to so that you can have a complete report at the end. So the way that you do this is you're going to be back here where it says transactions. If you are already on this tab right here from the last one, you can go over here and find chart of accounts right here, or you can go over here to transactions on the side and find chart of accounts. Either way will bring you to the same page. Once you get into the chart of accounts, this is what it kind of looks like. So if we are looking down here, let's go ahead and see some expenses. That's a good one to go ahead and look at. If we're looking at the various expenses that you might have as a account, and I'm actually going to hide the inactive ones so it's not cluttered. If you had a travel expense, so this is an expense account for travel. If you had training and education expenses because you're continuously learning, that's an expense for your business. If you connected your bank account, that's going to be a bank here. Other things that you might have is equity. So what you put into your bank account, you might have taxes paid, sales, what income do you have and what kind of categories do you want to have for income? These are kind of what the chart of accounts looks like. Now, if you're saying, oh, this looks already overwhelming, down below the video, I provided a CSV download for you to have that is the basics of a chart of accounts to start off with. You don't need to use all of these accounts, but they're really basic ones to go ahead and use for your business. And the way to go ahead and do that is you're going to download that CSV file. You're going to click down on the new account and import that chart of accounts. So that's a little thank you for watching and being here to go ahead and start your chart of accounts that way. If you wanted to add your own chart of accounts, so let's say you are very specific as a interior designer and you want to have an account that expenses specifically the flooring that you do for products for your projects. Could be something specific as that. Maybe you want it in a broad category. You're allowed to kind of make this adaptable to your industry. And the way that you would do that is you would say add new account. You would give the account the name, so something like custom flooring. Okay, that would be either a cost of goods sold, which means that it's going directly to your client who has already paid for it, or an expense. Now, because you're probably doing that as a product for your client that has already paid that price for the flooring and everything else, maybe you want to track that as a cost of goods sold. Then you want to come over to the detail type and try to figure out which one's going to best do this one. So cost of labor, no. Equipment rental, no. Shipping, freight. Supplies and materials. That's going to be the best category for that one. Don't worry too much if you're not sure between two. It's not going to mix things up too much. And then you're going to go ahead and click save. You have that new account for your bookkeeping. So that's how you create a chart of account. Again, if you're a very simple business starting off, start off with the chart of accounts that I provided, upload it, or just add them manually, whatever works for you. But those are some really straightforward ones to use for you and your business. Okay, so now that you have your bank accounts, your business bank accounts, and any credit cards you might have for your business connected to QuickBooks, and you have the right users in that account as well, we are now going to go through the basics of doing bookkeeping. First thing that we're going to start off with is basic transactions. In the next video, we're going to go over things like credit card payments, transfers in between accounts. So we're going to hold off on that for just a second. Today, we're going to be learning about the basics of what does it mean to do bookkeeping inside of QuickBooks. Now, all bookkeeping, you're pretty much going to be existing in transactions and bank transactions, okay? If you click on transactions, it's going to be this first tab right here. This is where you're going to live with the majority of the bookkeeping work that you do as a business owner. So if I'm starting in here, let's go ahead and take a look at this credit card because this is where I have a lot of my business expenses. You will see that every single transaction that I have going in and out of my business feeds through into my QuickBooks. Let's go ahead and take a look, for instance, just at Google. So Google, I pay for the business account for the email addresses and for Google Suite. So here you will see that QuickBooks already tries to do a lot of guessing of what is this and what information can we try to guess. This is why it already has Google popped up and apps and software because I have already categorized that in the past. Here is where if maybe you didn't get this one right, didn't guess wrong, I can go ahead and change up who this vendor was. If I don't have this vendor in there, you can always click on add new. You only just need to type in the vendor. So if that's, you bought something from Walmart, you would type in Walmart right here. Since I already have Google in there, that's good. And then I would choose which account that is going to go in. So I have my apps and software as an expense account. So I'm going to add it as that. So I'd click on add. right there. You will also see that there's another add button right here. So if I were to click down and make sure that all of the details were correct here, I can also just easily click add on this side page. Now, a little tip and trick before going through every single one of these individually, I like to go ahead and click on description, and that sorts it, which is super nice because if I have any of these that are multiples, I can go ahead and do this in bulk. So right here, I've got several that are for Google. I can see that this is correct. Google, apps all the way down here. I can go ahead and click on all of these and click accept this way. So it's a very easy and efficient way of doing that as well. Same thing goes for anything that is income. Income I have just as sales. This is money received. So they're spent and received. I would go ahead and click those as sales as well. So that's about it whenever it comes to the accounts. Now, the one thing I did want to mention, let's say that you decided that you wanted to start traveling for your business. You started to go to a conference. You've never done that before. Maybe you didn't have an account set up for that as well yet in chart of accounts. You can create it straight from here. So just like you can create the vendor, you can also create a brand new account from here. You give it the account name, whatever it is, the account type, expense, income, chart, cost of goods sold. Those are the basic ones. And then pick out which detail type, and then you can go ahead and add from here. That will add it into the chart of accounts as well. Super simple. The biggest thing whenever it comes to doing this work is that QuickBooks doesn't have a nice and easy undo button at the very top. You won't see it. So if you click on something, you really want to make sure that it's correct. But if for some reason it's not correct, you made an oopsie, what you're going to do is whenever you click on accept or add, where does it go? It goes into this category right here called categorized. That's where you can find that thing. Again, you can sort by date or name, whichever one makes it easier to find. You can search for just this month's transactions, whatever else that you need to do to find that transaction. And let's say I made a mistake here. Either I can change the chart of account for right here, or if I click undo, that will put this back in for review. So this just went from 35 to 36, and I can find it here again to make that correction. So that's how you undo and redo. Sometimes people get really lost in that. But just taking your time as you go through each of these transactions and make sure that you're categorizing them correct to begin with is always going to be your better option. So you've just gone through the basics of how to categorize ordinary transactions within your account. Most of them are going to be expenses or income. Now we're going to be talking about the things that want to pair and match up in QuickBooks. What does this mean? If you have two accounts that are connected into QuickBooks, so these tiles right here, and you have two things that are connected to QuickBooks and have done a transfer to one to the other or a payment for one to the other, QuickBooks doesn't want to record those twice. They want to match those two things up. So that's what this green is right here. So let's take this credit card payment as an example. This credit card was paid on 7/16, and right here, if I click down on it, it's going to tell me a couple different information. So one, that it's trying to match from something from my bank account that is Relay Operations. Paid on 7/17, and it's for the exact same amount. So QuickBooks is making its best guess, going, this is probably the same payment that it's talking about because there's nothing else around that date or this amount that is matching up. You still want to double check it yourself to make sure everything is good, but usually QuickBooks is pretty good with matching that up. Now, if I were to go ahead and click over to operations for 7/16, if I go ahead and sort by date here, if I go down around 7/16 and I look, there's one for 180.02. If I click down on that, it's trying to match with a credit card for this date and this amount. So that's what it's trying to connect with. And it's saying that I want to have this as a credit card payment. So there's ones to categorize. If no, this actually is a transaction, I can click on categorize instead. But because this is a credit card payment and it's matching those two things together, that is correct. I'm going to click on add payment here. in the operations account. And what happens over here is that this actually went away because it matched it automatically. So you're not doing double the work, it's trying to match it up. So with Relay Bank, if you've taken that course, if you have not done so yet, make sure that you take it. It's free. Relay has a lot of transactions that are transfers back and forth. So this is something that's very important to get correct inside of QuickBooks. Super easy in QuickBooks, is very efficient whenever it comes to the transactions from Relay Bank. The way that I like to do anything that's profit first and transfers is I like to start with the income account. And from here, I will go ahead and click on the description to sort it all the way through. And from here, you're going to start to see some of these transactions start to match up. Now, a couple of these, it's not recognizing it. And you're going to see it's because it's for the exact same amount. We'll talk about what to do about that afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and start with the My Pay transfers. So I'm going to click on everything that it recognizes because I can pretty much assume that it's correct. If you want to click down on each of these and double check the dates and everything else, feel free to, especially at the beginning, because it's harder to undo something that's lost. So take your time again and do that. But I want to accept all of these. And what that did is it also cleared those on the My Pay account. That is right over here as well. So now there's only a couple transactions that are left. But if I go back this way, these still have two that didn't recognize it because QuickBooks gets a little confused sometimes. So if I need to manually say, hey, this is a transfer from my income account to the MyPay account, I can click down on this and it's trying to categorize it right now. I'm going to instead tell this that this is a transfer. So record as transfer. I'm going to hit this radio button. And then on the drop down, I can select which bank account it transferred to. In this case, it did to MyPay and QuickBooks is guessing correct. I'm going to click add. I'm going to do the exact same thing to this one. So record as transfer to the MyPay account. Click add. You can also click the record transfer button. Doesn't matter. Now, if I go over to the MyPay account, it's already recognizing that there's some matches involved. However, QuickBooks is going to confuse it saying, hey, there's two of these that look exactly the same around the same date. Can you help us out? If I click down on here, you can click on this and it's going to tell you which two it thinks that are matches. And I'm going to find the one that has the correct date and click on match. This still likes to say the 2. I'm going to say it's matched to the 18th and click on match. And that is how you go ahead and do the work for the transfers and payments back and forth. The key thing here is to take your time. Take your time. Start with the income accounts. Once you've cleared one account, go to that account. Make sure it's all good to go before you go on to the next one. So since I have my pay done for those transfers, I'd go back to income and then go on to my operations account and do it nice and carefully from there. So that's the process of doing the transfers back and forth. Again, taking your time, making sure that you're methodical about it. If you want to click down on every single one of these and make sure it's correct, because again, undoing is a lot harder than just getting it correct the first place. Okay, so now at this process, you've gone through every single transaction in your bank feed. You have categorized or matched up every single pair. You have all of your transactions cleared, and now it's the end of the month. So what you want to do now is you want to do something called a reconciliation. A reconciliation is simply going through what is on your bank statement and making sure that everything matches in QuickBooks. Why is this important? Because sometimes there could be duplicates. Sometimes a transaction doesn't come into QuickBooks. We want to make sure that everything is accounted for. Therefore, everything on your bank statement matches what is in QuickBooks. So the way that you do this is it's going to be in the transactions. Pretty much this is your hub for everything. And over here, you're going to see something called reconcile. When you click on that, it's going to give you a couple different options. First, you can go ahead and check history by account, and this will tell you the last time you reconciled each of these accounts. So if you go through and you kind of click, it'll tell you the last date that you reconciled, which some of these I'm a little bit behind because it's my own account and bookkeepers are the worst with their own. But let's go ahead and say that I want to go back and reconcile that one credit card that I have, the Barclays card. So if I go down here, I'm going to find the Barclays card. And I'm going to go ahead and punch in what is on my last statement. So I logged into my Barclays card, clicked on statement, and the last statement was actually for 7/24/25. So I'm going to put that date right here. So 7/24/25. And on that date, on the statement, it told me my final balance was $5,216.07. So I'm going to plug that in right there and click on Start Reconciling. Now, QuickBooks does a good job recognizing everything. It's first going to click all of the transactions since the last time you reconciled and say, hey, this is what you said the ending statement was. This is what the beginning balance was, and all of the charges that we put in and all the payments that came out, this is what cleared. So this all matches up to 0. You want this number to be 0. You want to see the really pretty check mark. If you need to do this more manually, or perhaps there was something that was at the end of that date that maybe cleared the next day, you can do this by itself. So you can actually go through your statements and click through and make sure that every single thing that's on that statement is in QuickBooks. So you'd go through and almost do a crossing off and checking mark of every single statement that you have there. So that's how you do the reconciliation. In this case, everything was selected. This all zeroed out. If I scanned through the statement and what was in QuickBooks, it all looks good. You click on Finish Now, and that is how you go ahead and reconcile your account. Finally, you got to the good part. So you have done all of the bookkeeping, the little bit of tedious work to get to where you are. Everything is cleared and everything is reconciled. We know that everything in QuickBooks is correct. Now it's time to actually look at your numbers. So where do you look for whenever it comes to seeing how your business is actually doing? For this, you're going to go under and you're going to find reports. Now, there's a couple different ones. For a basic company, you're going to always click on standard report. You can always just click on reports itself and it will still bring you to the same screen right here. Under standard report, there are 2 different reports that are super important. Of course, the first one is profit and loss. That is how your business is profiting or not. So if you click on that, you can go ahead and run your reports on certain different things. You can choose to go ahead and click here where you can say, I actually want to run it just for this last month, maybe last month. And most businesses are not on accrual. They're actually on cash. So for a lot of you guys, this won't make too much of a difference. But if you have things like invoices inside of QuickBooks, it makes a little bit of difference. So make sure that you're clicked on cash. And this is how you can see your business performing, how much you made, what your expenses were, and then your profitability at the end. The other report that is super nice to have is your balance sheet. And that is a good way of kind of seeing how much equity your business has. This will tell you what is in all of your bank accounts, what your liabilities are. So total credit cards, any loans, or whatever else, and then how much money you've actually been paying yourself or investing into your company. So those 2 reports are super useful for you as a business owner, and they should be reports that you're looking at on a monthly basis. The final lesson, we're going to go ahead and wrap up and decide what are your next steps. Is this for you? And if you're deciding that this is a little bit overwhelming, what are some of the options that you could have going forward? And we are here to help. Okay, so you've made it to the end of the basics of QuickBooks Online, what it means to do bookkeeping, what does it look like inside of QuickBooks Online, and you got to see a little bit of what the process would be if you were to take this into your own hands and learn. I always think that doing bookkeeping yourself as a business owner can be a very positive thing because you are always in your numbers. Therefore, it's front and center to make decisions as a business owner. But if you are not going to keep up with it, or you feel like this is going to be a little bit overwhelming, or you can possibly make some mistakes, which cleanups are a little bit costly, You might be thinking at this point, this is something that I actually understand now, which is great, but I don't want to do for myself and my business. So, a couple different options that you have going forward to get some support from us. The first thing is my business bookkeeping matchup. In that case, I would work with you for free to go ahead and get matched up with the right bookkeeper for you and your budget. In 1 week, we would get back bids from different bookkeepers with both that said yes to working with you and their price. So it makes shopping for a bookkeeper super easy and convenient, and you can select the right person, personality, and everything else that you want to work for with transparent pricing right in front of your face. The second thing that I can go ahead and offer you is actually quarterly quality checks with bookkeeping if you want to do this yourself. So if you are saying, I really want to take a stab at it, I don't want to pay a bookkeeping fee on a monthly basis. That's not for me right now in my business, and I want to learn this skill, but I'm afraid of making mistakes. Go ahead and schedule a meeting with me below to go ahead and see how we can help out with quarterly checks and meetings to help make sure that everything is where it needs to be in your business, that you feel supported, and that everything is going to be correct for tax season, and that your books are being maintained correctly. Decide at this point, do you want to go ahead and do bookkeeping all on your own? You've got this. I'm going to run with it. Do you want to do bookkeeping on your own with support from Tarot Business Solutions from me to go ahead and do quarterly checks and meetings about your financials and making sure that everything is good to go, getting those simple questions answered on a regular basis? Or do you need to find a bookkeeper? Are you ready to go ahead and outsource and get somebody else to help with you? Now, what I will say is getting a bookkeeper is not just somebody that's going to crunch your numbers, hand you things back, and that is it. You are literally picking up a thought partner in your business without giving away any equity. See it as that. This is going to be an expert that knows numbers, that knows businesses, that knows profitability, that is going to be a thought partner in what can you do as a business to improve your numbers and continue to grow and get stronger as a business. That is gold. What you also can call that is a coach, and those come with a way bigger price tag than your bookkeeper will.